He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome to Coast View, the show that celebrates the men and women who are making coastal Mississippi such a great place to live, work, and play. Hope you're having a great Tuesday morning. You know, the sands in Ocean Springs, by now, if you live in Ocean Springs, you've heard about that project. If you're on social media, you've probably heard about that project. Or maybe you've watched one of home builder Michael Butler's Facebook videos. The conflict has drawn a lot of people in, not just in Ocean Springs, but across the coast. And don't think for a minute that potential investors or developers in Ocean Springs aren't watching that case closely as well. It is ultimately going to tell a story about whether the city is willing to go to the mat for developers who are willing to spend millions to invest in the city to make it a better place to live, work, and play. To me, that's one of the many questions that come from this case. Essentially, legal appeals by neighbors have stopped the townhouses that were planned there. And now it's possible apartment complex could go forward, but the neighbors are fighting that also. How did the city and the neighbors and the developer get here? And why can't we all just take a deep breath, set everything aside for a minute, and see the negative attention that the city is getting as a result of this? Can't they find a way to resolve this and do what is ultimately best for themselves and the city? The legal costs have to be unbelievable. And the cost to the city is tremendous in more ways than I can list here. So let me give you just a little bit of background. Butler Homes set out to build the sands with its partners. A principal investor was Lee Brumfield, and you've heard me talk about him on the show before. I knew Lee. His tragic death walking his dog on the boardwalk on Highway 90 recently highlighted not only his contributions to the coast, but it also highlighted that he was involved in the Sands project in Ocean Springs. So a lot of people who were aware of Lee sort of suddenly got more interested in understanding what the Sands project was all about. Now his brother Al continues as a principal in that project, along with Michael Butler himself and his partner in Butler Homes, Josh Workman. And they also have another partner, real estate investor Jennifer Gill. Jennifer is the one who actually introduced Michael Butler to Lee Brumfield. So the sands in Ocean Springs started as a 5.5 acre development. Now I'm not gonna get into a bunch of zoning and codes in this conversation. That's not what this conversation is about. But it was R1A zoned, which is multifamily apartment complex, essentially. There was actually an apartment complex there before Katrina. It was 112 units. So it's set idle. This land is set idle for quite a while, as you can imagine. So the initial Sands project was 41 homes they called detached townhomes, essentially zero lot lines. The city approved the project. These homes, incidentally, were going to sell or would sell in the range of about $750,000 each, and it would add about $30 million to the city's tax rolls. Then, as Michael says, that they made a fatal mistake. They tried to get approval to make the project available for short-term vacation rentals. Now, that's a really contentious issue, not just in Ocean Springs, but really across the coast. And I think it's something we'll eventually, as a set of communities, have to come to grips with. Incidentally, the city moved about 5 years ago to create an approach to vacation rentals, which was limited and it was more stringent. So if you know Ocean Springs, if you know how Ocean Springs works, exceptions to the rule, once the city and community come to an agreement about things, we're going to be met with significant community engagement, to say the least. A vigorous community-involved democracy has always been one of the hallmarks of Ocean Springs as a city. The late Lee Brumfield had some experience because he owned a house in Watercolor on 30A in Florida. For those of you who know about it, you get a sense of sort of the kind of style that this was going to be. He understood, actually, the financial benefits to investors and to the city, actually, of doing vacation rentals. But the investors and Michael Butler may not have fully appreciated the vacation rental history in the city. So they went to a meeting at the city to discuss the sands and making them eligible for short-term vacation rentals. And there was serious pushback from the community. Michael says at that meeting They heard the feedback loud and clear, and they immediately took steps to eliminate the vacation rental idea. They took it off the table. The neighbors appealed after approximately $1 million of infrastructure was in the ground and completed. That's roads, curbs, the infrastructure you need to start a subdivision like this. There's a lot of speculation about why the neighbors objected, especially now that the short-term rental idea was off the table. Was there still confusion about the misinformation from the short-term rental idea? Was it about stopping traffic? Do they simply want the land to sit vacant, as has been since Katrina? I guess if you have enough money, you can drag things out in court and probably prevail and cause people to give up. Some people actually do that. There's history of that. Or was there a defining moment along the way that caused key members of the opposition to just dig in? Did it get personal? Did it become about principle? Well, at the end of the day, it's just a very complicated issue. The neighbors sue the city, and they ultimately win the appeal. The city chooses not to take their appeal to the Supreme Court, who could have chosen to send that to the Court of Appeals, incidentally. That's the way it works in the state of Mississippi. So right off the bat, and this is my observation, I just think that was a mistake. I think that sends a bad message to investors and developers that the city's not going to fight for them. And we'll come back to that in just a little bit. So now the opposition is suing to stop the apartments. And there are countersuits. What a mess. Again, I'm interested in this because it ultimately is sending the wrong message to future investors and developers. And as I said, the costs have to be tremendous. For really across the board, all parties involved. I think of three quotes that I came across when I think about the kind of conflict this is in the community. And so after my many years as a publisher, I've seen a lot of conflict. So might these quotes apply here? The first one is from Winston Churchill. It says this: "Courage is what it takes to stand and speak. Courage is also what it takes to sit down and listen." That was Winston Churchill, of course. The next one is by Maya Angelou. "People will forget what you said. They will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel." When you get into contentious situations like this, it's not uncommon for people to have their feelings and emotions all over. I've seen cases like this, and this may be one of those cases. And the last one is by Lynn Johnston. There are a lot of quotes like this, but this one here is just so powerful in my view. "An apology is the super glue of life. It can repair just about anything." I think that's true. With all this as a background, I've asked Michael Butler of Butler Homes to join me this morning on Coast View. And without any further ado, let me bring him in. He's sitting in his truck, but he's got Wi-Fi. And I want to just say good morning to you, Michael. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. I appreciate you having me on. It's been a long road. It's been a long fight, so I'm out here trying to get the word out and just trying to let people know what's going on. I don't know how much help it's going to do in the courtroom, but I just want everybody to be aware of what's going on with the Sands project and how much effort we've put into it. And you made some great points about future developers and people that want to do business in this city, because I got to be honest with you, it's kind of put a bad taste in my mouth. And I'm young. I'm 39 years old. I'm going to do some development here on the coast for a long time to come. And it makes you think about looking elsewhere, to be honest with you.
So let me give an important disclosure. This is really important, and I want to, in the interest of full disclosure, my son Jordan Matthews works for Schwartz, Orgler, and Jordan, and they represent the Butler Homes in this case. You have another lawyer that represents you personally. They have absolutely nothing to do with why I asked you to join me this morning. You are here because I wanted to do a show about this important community issue. And you and I have not discussed any of this case prior to this show. People need to know that. All that I got about this, I came from news media and watching videos that you posted and talking to people in the community. But the law firm literally has nothing to do with why we're sitting here today. I just think in the spirit of full disclosure, I needed to say that. But before we get into the case, I just want to ask you, let's talk about you. I want to talk about where you came from. So you grew up in Gulfport and you went to Harrison Central. Tell me about growing up in the community you grew up in.
I grew up in Northwood Hills. It was a just a middle class community. My dad was a ROTC instructor for the high school. My mom, she worked for attorneys occasionally. She worked at the casino for a while. My dad was pretty tough on us. He raised us from a very principled perspective, very kind of blue collar. You do what you say you're going to do type of thing. And, he just, that's the way it was. I mean, I had a lot of friends of all different walks of life. I mean, we played together. We had a great time together. I mean, there was every type of person in my community that you could imagine. And I played a lot of sports growing up, had a lot of discipline and stuff like that from sports. So I love my life. I loved it.
Let's do this, Michael. We're coming to the end of this segment, but my mother actually lived in Northwood Hills for a period of time. She sold real estate, and I loved it there. It was a great community. One of the, I would say, sort of the foundation of Orange Grove for such a long period of time. And then, of course, Orange Grove continued to expand. But when we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Michael Butler. I want to know more about, where he comes from. And then we'll eventually ease back into the Sands Project and talk about what the potential next steps might be. We'll see you after this break.
Broadcasting safe and sound from the coastal Mississippi studios, this is Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk 103.1.
At the water's edge, you'll find open horizons, blue skies. Look up, birds flying by. A big mystery, a secret coast you'll see. It may be all you need. This is no ordinary life. This is no ordinary life.
Hey South Mississippi, it's Jay Allen at Jay Allen Toyota, and I got something new for you for 2021. It's the Jay Allen Certified Collection. What that means is we selected our very best inventory with under 75,000 miles and they're 6 years old or newer. That comes with a multi-point inspection, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and a 3-day buyback guarantee. So come check out the Jay Allen Certified Pre-Owned Collection right here I-10 exit 38 in Gulfport or on allentoyota.com.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
If Alexa's part of your life, you've got one more way to access SuperTalk. SuperTalk Mississippi is now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Once enabled, just say, Alexa, play SuperTalk Mississippi at any time and start listening. It's that easy. Just one more way to stay informed and connected with your state. Learn more at supertalk.fm/Alexa. SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi. Now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen. Okay. Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
106.3 Casino Radio is here. Tune to 106.3 to discover all of our must-see attractions and everything that's happening at our 12 incredible casino resorts. Where to eat, where to stay, what to do, and where to play. 106.3 Casino Radio has you covered with everything you need to know to help make your visit here to the coast one you'll never forget. Turn on 106.3 Casino Radio or listen now on our website, casinoradio1063.com.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. I have Michael Butler from Butler Homes with us today, and we're going to talk about the Sands project. But before we get into all of that, and I did the summary at the beginning. If you missed it, you can go to our SuperTalk Mississippi Facebook page and take a look at it. Any of your favorite podcasts, you can go to the YouTube channel and see the beginning of this show. And I would encourage you to share it because it's a really important show that talks about how tough it is sometimes to make progress happen. And, if you make a mistake or two along the way, sometimes, man, it's hard to overcome those. And that could be on either side. It can get contentious quickly. And we'll talk a little bit more about that here shortly. So you grew up in Northwood Hills. You had a principal father. And you went to Harrison Central. That was so interesting because I went to Gulfport East, but back when there was a Gulfport East, and Harrison Central always had a really good football team, good sports program. You were involved in sports there?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I played football and soccer. Yeah.
So it impacted you so much so that when you went to state, you ended up sort of getting a master's degree in sports administration.
Yeah, I went to Perk first. I had a little pit stop there in Wiggins, and I played soccer and football at Perk as well. And then I went to Mississippi State. My buddies went up there prior to me going, and I just decided to go up there. And I had a call come in. I'm sorry. And I went to Mississippi State and stayed there till I got my master's degree in 2005. So in 2005, I got a master's degree in sports administration. I wanted to teach and coach. That was what I wanted to do for a living, and so I had all my focus there. And I just wanted, my main goal in life was to impact kids. I had some good coaches and some bad coaches growing up, and I just wanted to kind of be a guy that was going to, be a mentor to people. I felt like I had a lot of life experience and I just wanted to pass that on. I feel like I had a kind of the right, like we said earlier, principled, leaf. And so I kind of, sorry, I had another call from me. This is crazy. But so I just wanted to pass that along to the other kids, as a coach.
Yeah. So you came back though, and you actually got into real estate. How did that evolution occur?
Well, if anybody's aware, when you graduate from school, you got a lot of debt, so I had a lot of debt. I got the first 2 years basically paid for, but there was a lot of student loan debt, and the money that I was being offered to be a high school teacher wasn't going to cover my student loan debt, so it was going to be kind of tough. So I talked to my brother. He was involved in the real estate business. I went and taught myself real estate on an online course, and then I moved back to the coast in 2005, right before the hurricane, right before Katrina. So the plan was to get started in real estate, and then the hurricane hit, and I had absolutely no experience whatsoever in the real estate business. So I kind of took a detour from that point. I actually ended up doing storm cleanup. I bought a dump truck, and I went to work driving a dump truck. And I actually, I drove the dump truck until I got pulled over by a cop before I got my CDL. I just kept going. I didn't have time. I mean, everything was closed, so you just had to go to work. It was true devastation down here. So I actually learned how to drive a dump truck from a guy. He worked in a dirt pit, and his nickname was Dooley, and he taught me how to drive a dump truck for 30 minutes. And this isn't the safest comment in the world, but I drove it from Jackson, Mississippi, all the way to the Mississippi Gulf Coast after a 30-minute lesson.
I have a really dear friend up in the Mississippi Delta who went to Ole Miss Law School, and he bought a dump truck along the way and drove it for a while, then hired a guy to drive it, and literally that's how he paid his way through law school. It's a great story. And then eventually he got into the trucking business, and you learn a lot about business. You meet contractors. You understand, especially in the wake of Katrina, man, it was the Wild West down here. I bet it was an incredible learning experience for you, wasn't it?
Oh, it was tremendous. I mean, I've always had this administrative brain, but I didn't have any, real experience when it came to business or anything like that. So all I had was just theory in my head. And when I worked on my master's degree, it was all about theory. And I used to say, well, let's go out and do something. I want to see if it actually works. But when I came down here, I worked for a lot of contractors, and there's a reason that some contractors get a bad reputation or a bad name, because a lot of people aren't that honest. But I kind of learned that. And one day there was a bunch of people complaining about locals not getting enough of the contracts and things like that. And I think the major contractor was Ashbrit. So I just walked in their office and said, "Hey, I'm local. Can I get a contract?" And he said, "You've got to have a business with insurance." And I didn't know anything about that. I was 25 years old at the time. And I went and found a buddy who had a business and insurance, and we partnered up and we got our own contract. So we ended up with a contract just like that. And the reason I did that is because people I was working for just weren't being fair. And I felt like I could go out and be more fair to other people.
Well, it was smart to go out instead of trying to figure out how to get, insurance on your own, et cetera. It was smart to find a partner that brought that to the table. It's interesting that sort of began to mold sort of a model for how you and Josh would end up ultimately getting together. But we'll come back to that in just a second. You ended up, after that, what happened next?
Well, next, what we did was we had a couple trucks running, and when you get your own contract, they basically give you demo permits and things like that. And they say, "Hey, go demo this property and that property." We didn't have a machine, a big piece of heavy equipment, an excavator. So we went and rented an excavator, brought it out there, hired a guy to do the demos for us because nobody knew how to run the machine, but we had the contract. So he got his first paycheck and he quit. So I had to jump on the machine and just learn how to run it. And there's a guy there. You had a quality control guy and a quality assurance guy, one from the Corps and one from Ashbrit. And I sent the whole crew home for a week until I learned how to run the machine. And it was a 40,000-pound excavator. I just sat on it. It was kind of like playing a video game until I figured it out, and I called them all back.
There was an interesting conversation I had a few weeks ago where I actually shared a quote, and I don't remember exactly how the quote went, but it simply said something like this, that part of setting goals, part of aspiring to be better is sometimes biting off more than you can chew and eventually learning, just figuring out how to chew it. And that's what you did.
I've been doing that for however long, 15 years now, 14 years now, since look where I am right now. I mean, I've been biting off more than I can chew forever. But you know what? That's how you get things done. You just jump in with both feet. And that's what I've always done.
So that's interesting. So you just continue to sort of snowball your business, and eventually you really started to get into construction. And tell me about that evolution.
Well, after the Katrina cleanup was done, I didn't have a real source of income. I would go out and find slabs to clear and things like that. They had slabs on people's property and they had increased cost of compliance money. So I would take people through that process, clear the slabs, but I knew that was ended soon. So I saw this thing in the paper and it said a busy modular home company. So obviously after everything's torn away, you have to build it all back. So I went to this modular home company or this guy that had an ad, and what it was, he was a trailer park salesman. Like he sold, mobile homes, but he was trying to get me to sell modular homes by showing people mobile homes. So it really didn't work out. But I met a builder there by the name of BJ Freeman, but that was from North Alabama. He was the one doing all the foundations for the modular homes, but I never sold one. I never even sold a modular home. But I also had the real estate license. I kept that. I met some guy from Keller Williams that was down in South Florida who had all these investors, this big investment program where they were they were trying to buy houses on the coast and do the small rental assistance program for tax purposes. So the builder and I partnered up, and he basically took me under his wing and said, "Hey, you know how to run heavy equipment." So BJ Freeman told me to buy a mini excavator, and he'd give me a job as a foundation contractor, having never laid out a foundation before. But the homes were relatively simple because they were investment homes. So it was kind of like the same floor plan, over and over again. But I went out to a job site. I bought a brand new mini excavator. I put it on a 3-year note, same as cash, drove it to a job site with a truck that I had bought from Budweiser, an old Budweiser Kodiak 7500. And I pulled it out there. By the way, it didn't have air conditioner in it. And anyway, I ended up at a job site, and he showed me how to square up a house and lay it out, and I was totally lost. And it took me a long time to a few days to understand what was going on. And it took me probably 3 times as long as anybody else to dig footers and things like that. But, finally I got the hang of it, and I became a pretty good foundation contractor.
So that led pretty quickly to getting into construction, and you did that for a while. And eventually you said, you know what, with your partner, Josh Workman, you decided you could actually build, create your own company, Butler Homes. How long did that take for you to reach that moment?
I'd say, first I went in with another builder I worked with for a while because I had a real estate company and he had a construction company. So I probably did the foundation thing for 3 years. And then I worked with the other guy for probably 3 years. And then, I didn't want to do a bunch of homes. I'll say it was Brandon Elliott with Elliott Homes, who's a friend of mine to this day. We don't hang out as often as we used to, but he just had a different vision. He wanted to build a lot of homes, and I wanted to build, more high-end custom homes, less homes, pay a lot, just focus on them, do unique, different things. We just had a different vision. He's a great guy, but from a business perspective, we both had a different vision. And I felt like what I needed was somebody on the financial side to help me.
And that's what Josh Workman was for you. He had a banking background. He knew a lot about finance. And we'll come back to talk about the two of you coming together and forming Butler Homes, and then sort of what you were doing prior to getting to the Sands. We'll be back with Michael Butler after this break.
Coast View on SuperTalk 103.1 is brought to you by J. Allen Toyota on I-10 exit 38 Gulfport. See all the incredible inventory at allentoyota.com. And remember, when you think Toyota, think J. Allen Toyota.
He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast View with Ricky Matthews
warranty on every new Toyota we sell. That also comes with Toyota Care. That's 2 years and 25,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. We have a great rental department. Our service department's ready to take care of your current vehicle. We're rolling out J. Allen certified pre-owned for 2021. You got to come to I-10 exit 38 right here in Gulfport. You're going to love what we have to offer. When you think Toyota, think Allen Toyota.
At the water's edge, you'll find open horizons, blue skies. Look up, birds flying by. Have you ever been so high? Have you ever touched the sky? Soak it in and you'll realize this is no ordinary life. Sunset views, hard to believe it's true. Come down south, we're here, just waiting for you. A big mystery, a secret coast you'll see. It may be all you need. This is no ordinary life. No ordinary life. Oh no. This is no ordinary life.
SuperTalk.fm has a new look and is more informative than ever with expanded Mississippi news coverage, the latest Mississippi weather, Mississippi sports, and of course, the talk that's important to you. Every show, every podcast, and every late-breaking story. Constantly updating the news the second new developments happen. All in one place. The new SuperTalk.fm.
106.3 Casino Radio is here. Tune to 106.3 to discover all of our must-see attractions and everything that's happening at our 12 incredible casino resorts. Where to eat, where to stay, what to do, and where to play. 106.3 Casino Radio has you covered with everything you need to know to help make your visit here to the coast one you'll never forget. Turn on 106.3 Casino Radio or listen now on our website, CasinoRadio1063.com.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. We are with the fabulous Norbert Putnam as he played on so many hit records, you can't count them, and produced for some of the biggest acts ever. We got to talk Jimmy Buffett.
One day at breakfast, he says, I started a new song. He says, about a night and a day in Key West, I played a bar and I got drunk, and coming home, I stepped out of my flip-flop, and I just kept going. I stepped on a beer can. And the next morning, I'm up, and I'm hungover, and I'm trying to make a margarita. I got some shrimp boiling. I can't find the salt. I said, Jimmy, I kind of like this. And he said, yeah, I think I'll call it Margaritaville.
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on your local SuperTalk Mississippi station, and now on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
Thousands of Bulldog fans have subscribed to the Thunder and Lightning podcast. Have you? On each episode, Brian Haydad and Joel Coleman give you an inside look at your Mississippi State Bulldogs. The Thunder and Lightning podcast is free and available on demand at supertalk.fm and on your smartphone. Just search for Thunder and Lightning on iTunes, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thunder and Lightning from SuperTalk, Mississippi, covering the Bulldogs like no one else. SuperTalk Mississippi, your new home for the Ben Shapiro Show.
We don't hold back. We never shy away from telling you the truth.
The most electrifying national talk show on air today.
We have the most important guests and the biggest thinkers in America.
Ben Shapiro, brutally breaking down the issues of the day.
From politics to pop culture, we take a look at all of it. So don't miss out.
Weeknights at 9.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show.
On SuperTalk Mississippi.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking very hard-to-find PPE items to make our community a safer place. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. They were even sending thousands of dollars of PPE supplies free to local schools in need with help from other local business leaders. The next time your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider a local company that supports your ball teams, cheerleaders, and area homeless. Consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply, the local guys that keep your prices fair, your service and selection excellent, and your health our business. Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. We're having a visit with Michael Butler from Butler Homes. We're going to be talking about the Sands Project. We spent the last segment getting to know Michael a little bit better, and he has an interesting background. Everyone has a story. Everyone finds their purpose in life, and it's so interesting to see what makes them tick. So when we went to the break, you talked about sort of getting into construction and whatever, but eventually it led you back to a lifelong friend and a banker friend of yours named Josh Workman, and you guys decided to form Butler Homes and go at it building high-end, really important high-end custom homes is what I'm trying to say. Yep. Tell me about that.
Well, Josh was working at the bank, and Josh was my roommate in college at Perk, and he was my roommate at Mississippi State, and he kind of took a different path. He went to the bank. And, I went and did the entrepreneurial thing, but I'm not the best in the world with managing money from a paying people perspective and all that good stuff. And one of the most important things in life is making sure that people get paid on time and that you have the money available from draws and things like that. And that's what Josh does. He's phenomenal at it. And I can honestly say that, we've always paid all subcontractors, and on time too. And the only reason that we do that is because of Josh Workman, because I tell people all the time, don't send me an invoice because there's no way I'm going to remember it right. But Josh does that. So I can't take credit for that, but it's definitely part of the reason, or a huge part of the reason for the success of our business. It's on Josh Workman.
Yeah, he's not only your co-owner of Butler Homes, but he's your chief financial officer. So, you've been focused on sales and operational side of the company. I'm sure he's obviously involved in sales as well, but chief financial officer, you formed this partnership, and you've had good success over a number of years. Then you had this opportunity. And how did you first sort of get wind that you wanted to do this development or be involved in this development?
Jennifer Gill called me. I met Jennifer about 2005, maybe 2006, early on in the real estate business. We both had our licenses at Keller Williams, and I just met her, and we just became friends, and over the course of the years, kept in touch or whatever. And she called me and told me about this beautiful piece of property on Front Beach, and I was familiar with it. And she just basically said, "Hey, look, I want you to meet with Lee Brumfield, the owner of the property, and we can talk and try to put something together because we need to do something with this property."
So things evolved quickly. I've heard you talk of Lee, and many people who talk of Lee talk about him the way that you did, that he was a great mentor. He was committed to the community. He was always giving back to the community. He wasn't a guy that was out in front. He was a very behind the scenes guy for the most part, just kind of making his mark in so many different ways. And sometimes, unfortunately, you don't find out the contributions that a man has made or a woman has made until, unfortunately, they pass away. And then suddenly all these contributions to the community in so many different ways, through their investments, through their just caring about the community and the investments they make in the nonprofit community, those kind of things just poured out about Lee, didn't they?
Oh, yeah. There was things that I didn't even know. I mean, the morning that he died, he was supposed to be at my office at 9:30. And I knew that he had an 8 o'clock before my 9:30 meeting with him. But, I didn't realize it was with the Homes of Grace. And he was doing this huge contribution or whatever it was. And I've heard different numbers, but it doesn't matter. But the bottom line is that's Lee Brumfield. So Lee Brumfield didn't boast about anything. He just went out and did his thing. And that, like, there's a lot about Lee that, as close as we were, that I didn't know. And that was the way Lee kept it. I mean, he just did his thing. But I tell you what, I've said this before multiple times. There are men as good as Lee Brumfield, but there's not one on this planet that's better than him. I'm telling you right now, that guy lived. Yeah. He lived the right way. I mean, he lived the right way, and he was a huge mentor for me. And he sent me scripture only when I asked for it. He never pushed it on me or anything like that. He invited me to church one time, and I told him my church was out there at Chandelier Island. And that left me. So but he was always quoting scripture. He was just you can't say enough about Lee Brumfield. He was a phenomenal human being.
So you heard the opening of the show where I sort of went through the key moments in this journey that kind of spun it up into this moment we're in today. As you, and basically you don't dispute any of how I sort of summarize this, right? I mean, basically the summary that I did at the beginning of the show is essentially the key points, and this is where we are. And as you pointed out when I passed it to you, that it does send a not so good message about the city. And so I want to ask you this. I said at the beginning, I felt like the city should have appealed the case, and not doing so sent sort of a message that the city's not going to go to the mat. So do you think they should have appealed?
With my limited, knowledge on law, absolutely. I mean, if you give me, approval for a project, and then you don't appeal the judge's decision, what does that say to me as a developer? I mean, that basically says, we said you can do it, but we're not going to back it. But I don't understand the legality of all of it. So from a logical perspective, of course you should appeal it. But maybe it was so airtight that they couldn't appeal it. But I do know that they were dealing in a very, very old code, and it was very difficult for them to navigate that code and to do something better than what was allowed in that code, that R1A zoning, or in that zone. So the fact that they didn't appeal it, I don't know that says that the city didn't have my back. I think that says that the city got themselves in a position that they couldn't get out of, if that makes sense.
So as you pointed out with the old code, of course there were 112 units there before, and what you were wanting to do was a development of townhouses that would have been, single family residential in sort of a zero lot line scenario. A really well designed subdivision. But what could have been there if you would have sought to build these apartments, or build apartments to begin with, without asking for, vacation rentals, that kind of turned things in a negative way pretty quickly at the beginning. You could have probably done that, and we would not even be here. I mean, and I don't want to get bogged down on that point, but the point is, if you had sought to build apartments there, they would probably be well under construction or finished by now, right?
They would 100% be done. And that's one point I do want to make very quickly, is that we could have come here, went straight to the permit office and pulled a permit for 57 apartments at the very, very beginning. and they couldn't have done anything about it. Of course, neighbors can appeal whatever they want, I guess. There's probably something in the rules that they could appeal, but that was a by right issue that is no different than you buying a single family lot somewhere and building a house on it. So it would not have had through the code and all that stuff. And so we wanted to do something better. And that's what I can't wrap my head around at all. The fact that, hey guys, we can do 57 apartments, but instead we'll do 41 beautiful homes. How about that? My perspective, I should be getting a pat on the back and people shaking my hand and tell me thank you. You know what I mean? And not to sound, sound like I'm egotistical or something, but come on. We had 57 apartments. Now we're offering 41 single family homes. So how does this make any sense to anybody?
So you heard me say, there's speculation about why the neighbors objected, maybe confusion about the short-term rental sale. I can't see that would be possible at this moment. Stopping traffic, keeping the lot vacant. But what I wonder about, though, is was there a defining moment along the way that made them want to dig in even more? Is there a defining moment that made this personal? Do you have a regret? I mean, if you look back on it, is there a moment where you said, dang, I wish I hadn't done that or handled it that way? Or, I mean, I hate to, I'm not trying to get too far beneath the covers on this thing, but I'm just curious about it. Do you have, was there a moment like that?
There were two that I can think of. The one is the rental situation. I don't know if that's regretful or regrettable or whatever the word is, but the rental, when we tried to bring the rentals up, as soon as they opposed it, we took it off the table. I mean, immediately, because our goal was to do something that was going to fit better within the community. That was the goal. And then the other one was just petty. When the guy, my main opposition, was taking pictures one day whenever they put the stop work order on. I wasn't even aware of the stop work order yet. One of my subcontractors called me and said he's over here taking pictures of us, and I saw him on the road and rolled the window down and said a few things to him that acted like I was back in high school again. But I apologized for that. Once I saw him one day, I jog over here often. I stopped, I walked up to him, and I apologized, and he accepted my apology. But other than that, I mean, I was angry. That was stupid. But I did it, and I don't really have any. I guess a good regret would be to say that we should have just done the apartments in the first place. I mean, then where would I be? Yeah.
But here's kind of, I mean, I'm an outsider on this deal, man. I have no involvement in this whatsoever, but my observation is this, that after Hurricane Katrina, when Andres Duany was here, the famed architect the father of new urbanism, we talked about mixed use and walkable communities and all the things that are going, especially today, actually, in the new economy, as we talk about the creative class and remote workers and what they need, mixed use is a big part of that. And what it requires, and we're coming to the end of this segment, we'll pick it up on the other side, but what it requires is for us to have an open mind and be willing to go to cities to ask for revisions and to really impress upon the cities that these tweaks in zones and codes will help bring the city to a different place. These are important. That's important. I know that this experience makes you not want to ever do that again because of what has transpired as a result of that. But it takes visionaries to take things to a different place. And if we don't do that, then we will just continue to do what we've always done. And sometimes that's not the best case for coastal Mississippi. When we come back, we're going to continue the conversation with Michael Butler.
Broadcasting safe and sound from the coastal Mississippi studios, this is Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk 103.1.
At the water's edge, you'll find open horizons, blue skies. Look up, birds flying by. A big mystery, a secret coast you'll see. It may be all you need. This is no ordinary life. This is no ordinary life.
Hey, South Mississippi, it's Jay Allen at Jay Allen Toyota, and I got something new for you for 2021. It's the Jay Allen Certified Collection. What that means is we selected our very best inventory with under 75,000 miles, and they're 6 years old or newer. That comes with a multi-point inspection, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and a 3-day buyback guarantee. So come check out the Jay Allen Certified Pre-Owned Collection right here, I-10 exit 38 in Gulfport, or on allentoyota.com.
SuperTalk.fm has a new look. and is more informative than ever with expanded Mississippi news coverage, the latest Mississippi weather, Mississippi sports, and of course, the talk that's important to you. Every show, every podcast, and every late-breaking story. Constantly updating the news the second new developments happen. All in one place. The new SuperTalk.fm.
106.3 Casino Radio is here. Tune to 106.3 to discover all of our must-see attractions and everything that's happening at our 12 incredible casino resorts. Where to eat, where to stay, what to do, and where to play. 106.3 Casino Radio has you covered with everything you need to know to help make your visit here to the coast one you'll never forget. Turn on 106.3 Casino Radio or listen now on our website, CasinoRadio1063.com.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. We are with the fabulous Norbert Putnam as he played on so many hit records, you can't count them, and produced for some of the biggest acts ever. Norbert, Elvis.
And I want to tell you about Presley. He had two different voices. He would sit and talk to me in a very calm, low voice. And we were at Stack's one night, and we were having lunch. We always had lunch at midnight because he was nocturnal. We sat there and we have our sandwiches, and at 1 o'clock, he looked up. He said, "Hey, Put, come on, it's time for me to go be Elvis." And he stood up, in a much deeper voice, he put on his macho voice. "Hey, fellas, it's 1 o'clock. Let's get cracking, okay?"
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, Amazon Alexa, and now on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. We have Michael Butler with me today. He's a co-owner of Butler Homes with his partner Josh Workman. And we're talking about the Sands project specifically now. And what I was saying before we went to the break, that sometimes we have to be willing to push communities to consider something different, whether it's zoning changes or codes, and they ultimately will decide whether they want that different or not. In this particular case, we end up in a weird place, which is we could have got something different and better. And what we may end up with is apartments, which is what that was there before. That would not be a good place to be. I swear to you. Now, they're trying to stop the apartments now, but maybe they won't. They shouldn't. Maybe they won't prevail. I don't know the legal situation as it relates to their argument. But the bottom line is you can't stop wanting to do better. I mean, that's just my encouragement of you. So as you think about this for a second, you got to consider all the possibilities here as to how you got here. And there are some motivations you'll never know about. For every person that's involved in the issue, that's how many different points of view there are. So there's not just two sides. There are multiple sides based on every single person involved in this issue, both directly in this legal issue and those who just have an interest in the city. So that's reality. But as you look forward and you think about, okay, now what could be an outcome that would put this to rest and get off the apartment conversation and move back to building the townhomes in a way that would please people? What might that look like?
Oh, I tell you what, I'd love to build the original development of 41 units. I mean, I would absolutely love to build that original development. I don't know how we get there. I've tried a couple of times to meet with people individually. I've done that several times, actually. I've done it since. That's basically what I did with this entire situation, where I'm coming out and publicly. I mean, I realized that this is not going to necessarily be any kind of legal help in the legal side of things. But my goal was to bring public awareness to this so I could maybe say, hey, guys, look, this is what I wanted to do. We're getting back to the corner here to where we may have to build an apartment complex. I would love to build the original 41 units, but there's some things that Lee and I talked about prior to his passing, and I feel like I'm obligated to hold true to those conversations and not necessarily go outside of what his wishes were. And so that's kind of a sticking point for me as well.
But the situation, I mean, okay, I'm not giving you advice, but I'm just saying my observation is simply this, that with every challenge, with every problem, there are dimensions, and the dimensions didn't stay static when Lee passed away. There are new dimensions that stack on that could change the scenario. And I would just simply say everyone involved in this on both sides of this battle should be open to the fact that it is not doing the city a bit of good to have a protracted, conflict like this that is reflecting negatively on the city and beyond this case, just in general, it sends a terrible message. That's my observation. And listen, there's a lot about this I don't know, but I can just tell you, I've dug in more than most people have, and my conclusion that this is not good for the city. And
I agree. I agree with you 100%. I mean, 1,000%. I agree with everything that you're saying. But when you look at it from a developer's perspective, and we came in and we offered a much lower density than what was allowable, and now today, they say, well, you can do luxury apartments. These people actually say this publicly. And then we go say, okay, well, we'll apply for apartments then, since you say we can do apartments. And then they appeal that as well. And the basis of their appeal was because they were trying to use the streets that we already put into that property against us in the density calculation. So in other words, they were trying to tell us, well, you got streets now, so you can't do as many as you could have when you had a blank slate. So from my perspective, I look at that and say, hey, I was trying to do something beautiful. And now not only did you not want that, you're also going to use the development that I developed for that beautiful project against me when I have to go back to the original concept that you say I was allowed to do. So that's a hard pill to swallow. I'm open to whatever. I've been a positive person my whole life. I'm overly optimistic to a point where it's people tell me, hey, dude, I got folks telling me to stop more than I want to stop. You understand? And, it's been a little bit of a toll on me. I got things I got to do as far as work and stuff, and I'm focused on this development, but I want to do something beautiful. I've always wanted to do something beautiful here. I'm still willing to do it. It's just a matter of if we can get some heads together and we can come out with some kind of common ground agreement, I'll do it. But people have to be honest, and people have to.
But my thought would be that Michael, you should, and the parties on the other side should be open to the possibilities and to undig and open your minds. And think about the city. And there are leaders in the city who may be listening to this or who will listen to this on social media who can listen to it and say, you know what, I have relationships and I have experience. I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to try to step in and offer whatever I can offer to help bring these parties together for the good of the city so that we can get past this, because it's doing no one any good to be in this moment. And we're running out of time, but I have to tell you, man, I've accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. I wanted people to get to know you better. I wanted to talk about the future in positive terms, because there has to be a resolution. We can't be in this place. And to get to a resolution and just rely on legal approaches to get there, that's not a good way to go. That's going to cost everybody too much money. That's not the way to go. We need the community to come together, find a resolution, and put this behind us. And I say that on behalf of coastal Mississippi. Not just on behalf of Ocean Springs. So let me just say this. I wish you all the good in the world, and I pray you have an open mind and that someone does step in and get involved in this in a way that helps resolve it. So good luck to you, my friend.
All right, I appreciate you, Rick. Thank you for having me on.
It's been a pleasure. This has been Michael Butler from Butler Homes, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Coast View on SuperTalk 103.1 is brought to you by J. Allen Toyota on I-10 exit 38 Gulfport. See all the incredible inventory at allentoyota.com. And remember, when you think Toyota, think J. Allen Toyota.
At the water's edge, you'll find open horizons, blue skies. Look up. birds flying by. Have you ever been so high? Have you ever touched the sky? Soak it in and you'll realize this is no ordinary life. Sunset views, hard to believe it's true. Come down south, we're here, just waiting for you. A big mystery, a secret coast you'll see. It may be all you need. This is no ordinary life. No ordinary life, oh no. This is no ordinary life.
Hey South Mississippi, it's Jay Allen at Jay Allen Toyota, and I got something new for you for 2021. It's the Jay Allen Certified Collection. What that means is we selected our very best inventory with under 75,000 miles and they're 6 years old or newer. That comes with a multi-point inspection, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and a 3-day buyback guarantee. So come check out the Jay Allen Certified Pre-Owned Collection right here I-10 exit 38 in Gulfport or on allentoyota.com.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking very hard-to-find PPE items to make our community a safer place. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. They were even sending thousands of dollars of PPE supplies free to local schools in need with help from other local business leaders. The next time your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider a local company that supports your ball teams, cheerleaders, and area homeless. Consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply, the local guys that keep your prices fair, your service and selection excellent, and your health our business. Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. We are with the fabulous Norbert Putnam as he played on so many hit records, you can't count them, and produced for some of the biggest acts ever. We got to talk Jimmy Buffett.
One day at breakfast, he says, I started a new song. It's about a night and a day in Key West. I played a bar and I got drunk, and coming home, I stepped out of my flip-flop, and I just kept going. I stepped on a beer can. And the next morning, I'm up, and I'm hungover, and I'm trying to make a margarita. I got some shrimp boiling. I can't find the salt. I said, Jimmy, I kind of like this. And he said, yeah, I think I'll call it Margaritaville.
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on your local SuperTalk Mississippi station and now on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
SuperTalk.fm has a new look and is more informative than ever with expanded Mississippi news coverage, the latest Mississippi weather, Mississippi sports, and of course, the talk that's important to you. Every show, every podcast, and every late-breaking story. Constantly updating the news the second new developments happen. All in one place. The new SuperTalk.fm.
106.3 Casino Radio is here. Tune to 106.3 to discover all of our must-see attractions and everything that's happening at our 12 incredible casino resorts. Where to eat, where to stay, what to do, and where to play. 106.3 Casino Radio has you covered with everything you need to know to help make your visit here to the coast one you'll never forget. Turn on 106.3 Casino Radio or listen now on our website, CasinoRadio1063.com.
If Alexa's part of your life, you've got one more way to access SuperTalk. SuperTalk Mississippi is now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Once enabled, just say, Alexa, play SuperTalk Mississippi at any time and start listening. It's that easy. Just one more way to stay informed and connected with your state. Learn more at supertalk.fm/Alexa. SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi. Now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen. Okay. Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices. When you listen to SuperTalk Mississippi, you become part of a statewide community, a community of knowledgeable, engaged, enlightened, well-informed, hard-working men and women just like you, all eager to see the Magnolia State grow and prosper. There may be some disagreement on how to get there, but the goal remains the same, for each Mississippian to reach their American dream. Thanks for listening and being a part of the conversation on SuperTalk Mississippi.